What's a 13-letter word that describes creation, that can die in anger and in violent conversation, that can discuss success or fear of market fluctuation, that is used to say I love you with words or silent communication? What about the 10-letter word that derives itself from trust, that is absent when your love is gone and you fear they're cutting up? It's got you so heated you think that you are going to bust. The same thing you lack when you think that you're not good enough. Confidence. And the 14-letter word that goes often neglected, but is overused in media talking about the deceptive. They scream and scream someone else should take responsibility, but they won't do it for themselves. It's called accountability. Now, I done said this word twice in this piece already. Stop the tape, rewind it back, and count the words I've said till now. It refers to how one feels for another or how they view their person. It's felt when letting go. It's deepened with immersion. It is a 4-letter word and it is my favorite. It is the truth in Moulin Rouge. Go watch it. It's my favorite. It's what we all wish that we had, and without it we feel so sad. It's what we came here to discuss in its form's truest, love. Now, today we're going to be talking about the power of words, and considering how often I ramble, I don't know if, I think we might have to do a part 1 and part 2 for communication and the power of words. So today we're going to be kind of discovering a few vocabulary words, because I think vocabulary is so important. If you do not read, please start reading. Expand your mind. Because here's the thing about reading. Reading teaches you how to do something different. Reading teaches you how to feel something different. Reading expands the mind. Like when you feel like you don't have options and you read, you'll learn that there's something new in the world. And then you can recognize that there is a new opportunity that you knew nothing about. Crazy, right? Yeah. No, I know you get it. I know you see the vision. I know you're with the mission, because that's what self-love is about. Like when you don't know how to treat yourself right, the answer is not to not do the right thing. The answer is to go find the right thing, right? Like, does that make sense, right? Okay, so I'm not crazy. I hope I'm not crazy. But so we're going to be talking about a few different words today. And the reason why I felt like words are important, I've been talking about this all year. I wasn't a reader. I wasn't much of a reader for the last 10 years. And I got into audiobooks again this year, and I've listened to more than 50 books. And changed my life. I've been teaching people left and right. Hey, this is a book about business that you should read. Hey, this is a book about personal development that you should read. Hey, this is the book on boundaries by Melissa Urban. You should listen to it or read it. Perfect tactics and philosophies and psychology behind building boundaries, why we don't build healthy boundaries, and how we can tell other people like, hey, respect my boundaries, and how we can tell ourselves, hey, you should hold yourself to this standard and this is how you're going to do it. Yes, please go read the book on boundaries by Melissa Urban. But anyway, back to the topic. Just reading books really expands the mind, and it really affirms to you when you had ideas before that when another person says the same thing and they're actually like credible, like people believe in them, like they're multi-million-dollar booksellers, then you realize, oh, I have the same thoughts and ideas as somebody who's accredited, which means that maybe you're not so far gone as you thought. Maybe you're better than you thought, right? I just think that's a good affirmation. So that's what I'm going to uphold right now. Now, I don't really want to do too much talking from my own tongue, because I feel like we can just leave it to the books right now. I got a few words right here that we're going to go through. And the reason for communication is, if you don't know how to say it, how else will you express it? Silence, violence. Then where do you go, right? It takes away your options. I got way too many cousins who are dead or in jail because growing up they didn't know how to communicate. They didn't know how to ask for help. They didn't know there's just so much at stake in this world that if we don't know how to ask for help, if we don't know how to say how we feel and ask people for forgiveness and be able to say that we forgive and be able to communicate that we want the good things for a person just as much as we want good things for ourselves, that we don't want other people to be hurt, that we want people to heal. If we, I can't stress it enough, there is so much at stake. So let's work on communication, and the best way to work on communication, one, is to read, because authors will teach you how to say something different, how to express something different. Words have different meanings, they have different utilities, and just to be able to express yourself in different ways is so important. Second thing is just literally going into a dictionary and just pulling out words and saying, all right, this is a word, what does it mean, how can I use this in a sentence? Because you could say I love you to somebody, but it's starting to get a little played out, right? That phrase, I love you. Like, what does it really mean? And we're going to talk about what love means today. But when you're talking to somebody and you say, I love you, a lot of people today, they don't acknowledge I love you. They acknowledge what you do to show them that you love them. So they want the action, but that's a different form of communication, right? This is what I do, because I'm a spend time with you kind of person. I'm not the kind of person, my love language is not gifts. It's not gifts. It definitely is not gifts. So this is what I do, because I'm like, nah, I'm not going to spend money on you. I'll spend time with you. I'll share my time with you. I'll share my life with you. But I don't feel like buying you a present. I feel like making you something that's special, and it comes from me, and it comes from what I do best, right? So this is what I do to express that I love people. One, I might draw them. That's just one thing, because I'm an illustrator. Another thing that I might do, though, is write them a poem to express to them, hey, these are all of the feelings that I've had. Hey, these are all the things that I hope for you. Hey, I know you're going through this, but I want you to know that you're going to make it through, because that is what you do, right? That's one thing that I do. Another thing that I do when I do tell people I love them, and it depends on where they are in their life. For some people, I don't say I love you. Sometimes I say I adore you. Sometimes I want to acknowledge, hey, when I look at you, I just melt because I adore you. You're adorable. I don't want anybody ever to even hurt you. Like, no. Or I might say, I'm proud of you, because I know so many people don't hear in their daily life that somebody is proud of them. For other people, I say, I hear you, because so many people go unheard, because so many people go through their lives not feeling like somebody actually values what they have to say and how they feel. So I say, I hear you. I'm listening to you. I'm present with you in this moment, and I'm trying to feel the things that you're expressing to me. But you don't get to adore, you don't get to hear or listen, you don't get to admire without knowing what those words mean. So let me stop talking. Let me just get to the material. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to make a part 2 on this. But just to refocus, right? We're talking about self-love. So these words really are supposed to be directed towards us. It's easy for us to talk about it on an outward basis, but then we're like, I don't realize how to talk about this to myself. Well, if you can love somebody else, you can love yourself. So we're going to start with the word love, and we're going to start with the definition. Love, by definition, I found it on Google. I think it's the Merriam-Webster version. Love is an intense feeling of deep affection, a great interest and pleasure in something. Or words related to love, or phrases related to love, having a weakness for something, feeling weak, not strong, not passionate, weak. Or having a desire for something, experiencing enjoyment around something or someone, having a passion for something, worshiping something, feeling sympathy for something or somebody, holding someone in regard or thought, thinking about somebody, holding them in consideration, even considering them at all, or idealization. What does that tell you? What does that tell me? Love takes so many different forms. we always think about this burning, passionate love. We think the fire is going to stay forever and ever. And that's why people get a year into marriage and it's like, God, I'm so tired of you. I thought I was going to feel the same way I felt in the honeymoon phase. Well, guess what? People experience that too with themselves. And as a kid, you might never even think, like, if you think about how people develop, children are self-centered and narcissistic at birth. And it's just like, oh yeah, the whole world revolves around me until they realize it doesn't. But the thing is, and that's what happens over the course of our lives, is we know at the start of life that everything revolves around us. Everything comes from within us and our imagination and our hearts and our emotions. And then it reaches out into the world and then it comes back to us and we respond with tears or anger or happiness or laughter or whatever. And we forget that once somebody checks us and says, my world is valid. Or an adult tells us, your world is invalid because my world is valid and I've had the experience and you can't tell me what's right or wrong, right? We learn from other people how to not love ourselves. We learn from other people how to not trust ourselves. We learn from other people how to not feel confident. So let's think about that. Love takes so many different forms, shapes, and sizes. Love can really be passionate. Love can really be a burning, raging fire, or it can just be a thought. Literally just thinking about yourself like, oh snap, I just realized I'm unhappy. I'm going to go do something that makes me happy. Is love. Love is desire. Love is wanting something. Like, I want myself. Like, when I look at myself in the mirror, I think, golly, I want that. Or if you think, golly, I'm not where I need to be, but now that tells me that I need to work on getting where I want to be in my life because I see myself, I respect myself, and I want to hold myself to this standard. It does not mean that you are questioning yourself too much. It means that you want more for yourself. And the thing is, if you think about that, think about the people in your life. How many of them actually want you to succeed? How many of them see you, see what you want to do for yourself, and then tell you, go get it? How many people in your life, when you talk to them, they're like, I see what you're doing, and I want you to work for it because you can get it. That's a form of love. So don't sit here and think, I have so many things that I want to do and I can't achieve them. Think, I'm not there yet, but I can work on it. That's what love is. Love can also be holding somebody in consideration. If you think about them before you make a decision, that's also love, because you respect them. You respect that they influence your world and that you influence their world, and that you want to make sure that that bridge stays intact. That's also love. So think about yourself. Think about the passion that you have. Think about the things that you really love about yourself. Think about the things that you think about, the small things, little things. Think about the decisions that you make that affect your life. All of that affects your self-love. And the thing is, when you think that you don't love yourself, when you think that you're not good enough, you realize in that moment that you have a standard for yourself that you do love, and that there was a point in time where you did love yourself, and you want to get back to that. The thing is, we can't go back to the past. We can only move into the future, but you can always, always, always change life. Change your activity, change your behavior in such a way that brings you to where you want to be. And the fact that you acknowledged it meant that you wanted to take the first step. So I acknowledge and I empower you and encourage you to take the first step to get to the self-love that you want. Second word that we're going to get in, yes, and that actually touches on the last thing that I wanted to say about love. When you say no one loves me, that means that also means that you're telling yourself that you don't love yourself. So if you ever say, so nobody loves me, stop saying it, because it means that you do not love yourself, and we love ourselves. And if you don't believe that you love yourself right now, just say it. Keep saying it until you believe it. Keep saying it until you believe it. It's such an arbitrary thing. It's just a word. Words have power, but once you realize that words have power and utility, you can also understand that people will use it in a flimsy way. So either it matters or it doesn't matter. You decide. Second word that we're going to cover is confidence. Now, I like to talk about confidence because I listen to Myron Golden a lot. And if you don't listen to Myron Golden, I recommend that you listen to Myron Golden. Word confidence, it comes from the root word confide. Confide means to trust. We're talking about trusting yourself right now. That's what self-confidence is. The ability for you to, the level at which, the strength at which you trust yourself. That's what confidence is. Confidence is not just sitting here and being like, oh, I walk into a room and I run everything. No, confidence is also, I know that when I paint, it's going to look good. It's I know when I walk, people around me like it. It is also, I know when I think about myself, I'm a pretty cool person. That's what confidence is. It's, you know what you can do. You know what you're good at. You know what you have accomplished, and you can do it again. So come on. This is literally like this is everything right here. Confidence tells you that you can keep going and keep trying and keep succeeding and achieving. That's what it is. So the way to build confidence is just to do the things that you're good at. Try things. Try things until they stick. Do the things that work for you. That's what confidence is all about. So come on, go do some stuff. The next thing, yes. And to touch on Myron Golden and Jim Rohn, they both talk about this. I think Jim Rohn said that he has a mentor that even he got this from. But it's that birds don't go to flight school and fish don't get swimming lessons. Fish were born to swim. Fish are in the water. They already can breathe underwater. They don't have to learn how to breathe underwater, and they don't have to learn how to swim. They just do it. That's their purpose. Just do the thing that you're good at. Same thing with flight. Unless you're a non-flying bird, you don't have to go to flight school. And the ones that don't fly, you know, they get to go back to the kingdom. But the ones that don't fly had the chance. And the ones that do fly soar. Think about that. Now we're going to get into the interpersonal words, because people talk a lot about the interpersonal, right, connotation of esteem, self-esteem. Why do you do anything? You want to bolster your self-esteem. You want to bolster your self-confidence. You want to support the idea that you have about yourself. You want other people to have good ideas about you too. That's what esteem is about. So esteem means respect and admiration. Comes from a Latin root that I will not be pronouncing, but it means to estimate or appraise. It means to look at it, find its value, and say, yes, that's what that is in comparison to this. It's all about measurement. That's what self-esteem is all about. It's about measurement. It's about how we look at something compared to something else. I found that there are, and so because it means respect, I really want to talk a lot about respect right now. Because when we think about respect, we are thinking about a hegemonic system. We are thinking about how we look at things and interpret them, and how we look up to them, and how we compare it to ourselves, and how we compare those things to other things, right? So the benefit of having a good self-esteem, what is that? You respect yourself. You have good respect for yourself. If you hold yourself in low regard, will you really treat yourself right? Like if you think, I'm nothing special, do you really think you're going to go out of your way to do a few more sit-ups, pull-ups? Do you really think like to push yourself to get even closer to your goal? Do you think that if you think that you're not that special, that you're gonna do special things for yourself? When you think I'm not that special, do you really think that you are going to ever work hard enough to make enough money to feed yourself more than just fast food? I'm just saying. Let's think about that. So when we don't hold ourselves with high esteem, we disrespect ourselves. That because and this is a phrase that comes from The Miseducation of the Negro by Carl G. Woodson. I don't remember what his name is, but he says that, you know, if you teach a Negro I'm paraphrasing, by the way. If you teach a Negro how to think less of himself, he will seek less out for himself. Like if you put the idea of scarcity inside of somebody, they will seek out scarcity. And we're going to talk about this in another episode, talking about having something to prove when you ain't got nothing to prove to nobody else except yourself. When somebody says, oh, you don't have my diamond chain, my gold diamond embedded chain, it forces people to think, I don't have a diamond embedded gold chain. Let me work for that. Because you weren't comparing anything before, but then they created lack within you. And so then you start to do things that things that they value rather than the things that you value. So it throws you off. So not having good self-esteem is something that throws you off from what you actually want. Something that you actually want for yourself, something that you actually value for yourself. So having good self-esteem is just so important because it's all about comparison. It really is all about comparison. And I was looking around for things to talk about esteem, and then it turned me to there are 3 kinds of respect. And I was like, oh, respect is so important, because if I think about love, if I think about relationships, I think about respect. I think, why would you be with me if you can't look at me and think that I'll do the right thing? Why would you be with me and choose to be with me if you don't think that I will come home at a reasonable hour, or come home having been doing what I was supposed to do to support myself and our relationship and the world that we're building together? I think if you don't respect me, you don't want to hear what I have to say. If you don't respect me, you don't care about what I have to say. If you don't respect me, you don't respect the people in my life and the people that I love. So I think love has to do a lot with respect. And if you don't respect yourself, guess what? You're probably disrespecting the people that you love in your life, including yourself. So there are 3 kinds of respect: human recognition, status recognition, appraisal recognition. Human recognition. It is what it sounds like. Recognizing that you're a human. And we as black men, and black women especially, black women have the worst end of this deal. But we as black men experience this all the time. We see our brothers dying on the news all the time. We see people not even bringing us into the boardroom all the time. They can't even recognize that we're human. They can't even recognize that we are capable of doing something, of living. Just living. Just being able to experience. And in the pursuit of happiness, we should be able to enjoy humanity in the pursuit of happiness. That's a human right. Why do we have to try? Why do they have to put us in a position? Why does anybody have to try to put us in a position where we don't love ourselves and recognize that we're human? Because at the end of the day, when somebody convinces you that you're not a human, you don't treat yourself as a human. If you don't treat yourself like a human, you treat other people like they're not people. And the thing is, the people closest to us are the ones who get the worst of it. So, if we are fighting with our brothers, we only do so because they're the closest in proximity to us, because somebody else decided to put us in a different space, or because we went to where we were comfortable, but because we're following the ideology of what somebody else has convinced us of, we are now living by standards of dehumanizing our people. And then we live in a community where what we do is dehumanize our people, because that's the logic that we're following. I don't know if I lost anybody on that. All I'm saying is how we feel about ourselves is how we put that out into the world. And if we think that we are people, if we look at ourselves as people, if we recognize that we are people and human, and that we can experience pain, that we can experience fear, that we can experience heartache, that we can experience happiness, joy, laughter, then we can acknowledge that for other people and support that for them. That's all I'm trying to say. And when it comes to status recognition, you can recognize, you can respect the mantle and not the person. You can respect the mantle and not the man. You can respect that somebody is a billionaire, a trillionaire, a millionaire, and not them, because maybe their characteristics are off. Maybe they're racist. Maybe they're sexist. Maybe they're xenophobic. Maybe they really just are rude as heck to anybody. Maybe they're just super self-centered. But you can respect the fact that this person makes this paycheck, that they make this money, that their decision could blow up the world or save the world. We can respect that, but we don't have to respect the person. Now we have appraisal recognition as well, which is talking about the recognition that somebody gets, right? Respecting somebody because, oh, this person who I respect said that that person is respectable. Yeah, respectable. And so by proxy, you respect them. So if somebody you says love, if somebody you love says, oh, that person is great, then you'll think, oh, that person is great until you find out that they are, or until you find out that they're not. But that's what appraisal recognition is all about. So these three kinds of respect is normally we think, oh, actually, that's kind of funny. How many of you have a job that you hate and you hate because of your manager? So you have a job where this person is in this position, and so you respect their position by doing what they tell you. You don't respect them, so you talk about them behind their back. You hate them. You would leave if you didn't need the money. Status recognition. And appraisal recognition is, I think this is a Kanye thing. I think this is a Kanye thing. At this point, Kanye's done so many great things. You can be like, no, I want to support, like, I want to, find something to like. I want to find something to support what he's saying, even though he's lacking in his character today. But that's not me saying that I feel any kind of way about Kanye or the things that he said or the communities that he's upset. I'm just saying that's an example of, yeah, you can really respect the things that he's done, even though today it's hard to respect the things that he's saying. But once all of these three things align for yourself, magical things happen. Once you acknowledge that you're a person and that you can do the things that you want to do in your life, you will pursue what you want, right? And you can create positions that you respect. You can create, I am a marketing guru. I am a genius. I am a star. I am a champion. Then you give yourself status recognition. And when you give yourself status recognition, you think, okay, so I can do great things. Then you go and do great things. And so now you get the appraisal recognition. You can give yourself awards. Other people give you awards for the things that you're doing. So it all comes together to say, if you respect yourself, if you respect your humanity, if you respect what you want to do in your life, you go and create the things that bolster the respect that you have for yourself. And with that, I'm going to have to draw this to a close because we are running short on time. We're very behind schedule right now. But I just want you to think about those 4 words. I want you to think about love. I want you to think about confidence. I want you to think about esteem. And I want you to think, we didn't get to accountability. So I'm going to hold myself accountable. We're going to go through this word really quick. Even though we got to get out of here, we're going to do accountability really quick because this is probably the most important word to help you go through and do the things that you need to do to bolster your respect, self-esteem, confidence, and love. Accountability. The fact or condition of being accountable, aka responsible. AKA responsible, aka being able to respond to something either with prior knowledge or with post knowledge, but not throwing away, not pointing and shooting blame off to somebody else. But I think, there are 2 kinds of accountability. I'm a finance major. I like to do stuff with balance sheets in business. So I think there are 2 kinds of accountability. I think there's making liabilities and I think there's making assets. Accountability, holding yourself to a standard where either you're creating liabilities or you're creating assets, right? A liability is building a liability means that you are building more risk. You are hurting the thing that you're trying to do. You are bleeding out money and resources. You are failing to do what you need to do. You are not meeting obligations, becoming indebted to people, becoming indebted to yourself, really hurting your confidence and self-esteem, building on what you don't want in your life, letting that accumulate. That's what building a liability is, and we do that with lack of communication, playing the blame game, projecting onto people when we could just be communicating and recognizing our emotions, and we'll talk about that later. Never taking ownership, because when you take ownership for something, that's when you really try to make it work. And we'll talk about ownership in another episode. But how to build an asset in accountability, how to turn yourself into an asset, how to turn your thoughts into an asset, how to turn these hands into an asset, is to build trust by communicating, doing what you say you're going to do, and making right when you don't meet people's expectations. Right? You're holding yourself responsible. When you think that you can't do something, you say it beforehand. And when you think you can do something and it turns out that you can't, you say, hey, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do this at the right time, but how's this? I think I'm going to be able to finish it by then. Can I get an extension? It is about communication. Building an asset means that you are taking responsibility, whether you're doing a good job or whether you're doing a poor job, but it allows you to take ownership of the process while you get through the process. And with that, I'm gonna bring this to a close because we're gonna talk about accountability a lot more. I just want you to think and reflect on those 4 words. Think about love, think about self-love, think about confidence, think about self-confidence, think about esteem, think about self-esteem, and think about accountability. Think about how you're gonna hold yourself accountable to doing the things that you wanna do. Once again, if you wanna hold yourself accountable, if you wanna bolster your respect and esteem, if you wanna show yourself love, read the book of Boundaries by Melissa Urban. It's on Audible too if you listen to audiobooks. I think that that's just an amazing resource. Also, if you want to learn more about all of these different aspects, accountability, self-love, self-esteem, confidence, go and check out AUC.C.H.I.L.L on Instagram. That's AUC.C.H.I.L.L, Counseling Humans and Life Lessons. Chill. Go on AUC.C.H.I.L.L on Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel with the podcast Chill, We Got You. We're talking about how to motivate yourself. We're talking about how to do what you need to do to put yourself in the right position in life. But go and do that. That's a channel that's run by students of the AUC in Atlanta, in the Atlanta University Consortium. So go ahead, check out AUC.C.H.I.L.L. That's my organization. Like, come on, just support. Follow us. Also, hit the subscribe and like button and the bell on this page too, and leave a comment on things that I missed out. We still have a lot of things that we're going to cover in the next episode, but I'm still getting used to being on a schedule, so forgive me. But also, if you want to learn more, just go to these resources, learn, find a book, any book, really, just open it up. Right now. I'm listening to The Alchemist. And there's a lot of stuff about, taking a risk, living your life, telling your personal legend in your story, living it out, realizing it, right? So I think a lot of trust, confidence, and love has to go into that story. So make sure you check out The Alchemist also. All of these books really do speak to the human experience, and I think that if you really care about bettering your life and finding self-love, those are the resources to look. I'm Anthony J. Hunter the Wolf, and I'm out. Ow!